So, in his book, The Best and the Brightest, David Halberstam talks about how McGeorge Bundy climbed the ranks at Harvard, going from a simple professor to the dean in 1953. Bundy wasn't exactly a star in the government department, but his colleagues saw something in him and recommended him for tenure to Harvard's president, James Bryant Conant, who was a pretty big deal in the chemistry world. Bundy didn't have a lot of writing under his belt, and his only degree was a bachelor's in math from Yale, but he was known to be a genius. Conant wasn't thrilled about giving tenure in government to someone without a PhD or much published work, but he went along with it. Fast forward to yesterday, when Harvard's current president, Claudine Gay, announced she's stepping down. She's been under fire for a while now, with people criticizing her response to alleged anti-Semitism on campus and questioning her academic record. Her published work is pretty sparse, and some of it seems to be copied from other scholars. Conservative commentator Christopher Rufo and reporter Aaron Siberian from the Washington Free Beacon smelled blood in the water and dug up more instances of her copying. Those who tried to defend Gay weren't sure if the latest plagiarism accusations or criticism of her research methods would be the last straw. They also noticed that Gay wasn't really defending herself publicly, instead choosing to communicate through university press releases. A university president needs to be a scholar or a politician, and by yesterday, it was hard to say if she was either. The story of Bundy shows how standards have changed over the years, and how they haven't. Like Bundy, Gay comes from a privileged background. She doesn't have a fancy WASP-Y name or pale skin, but she's from a wealthy family and went to Exeter and Stanford. Bundy was made dean in a way that a brilliant grad from Michigan State never would have been. Gay's rise also depended on powerful people overlooking her shortcomings and defending her when others with similar deficiencies would have been let go. Gay's defenders tried to paint her as a scholar like Conant or Lawrence H. Summers, but that wasn't really accurate. When she was appointed, the university's alumni magazine called her a scholar's scholar, but when Rufo and others questioned her scholarship, they were accused of racism. In reality, Gay was more like Nathan M. Pusey, who was a classicist but not really known for his writings on the classics. Gay's days of academic research were long past, much like Neil Rudenstine, who was hired as Harvard's president in 1991 because he was a popular Princeton administrator and donors liked him. The honest defense of Gay would have admitted that she was supposed to be more like Rudenstine, and was instead being compared to Summers. Whether Gay was expected to have a golden touch with donors, I don't know, but she was probably expected to have a certain charisma with the social justice and racial equity groups that are seen as powerful on American campuses. As a black woman who studied the political effects of race and led initiatives on race, she was supposed to be safe from accusations that Harvard wasn't taking its mission to study and correct racial issues seriously. Harvard seems to have overestimated the power of those groups. The plagiarism accusations never really impressed me. Yes, Gay plagiarized, and students who did the same would be punished. But she's a quantitative social scientist, and I can see how quoting previous research with perfect accuracy might lead to a copied sentence here and there. It's still plagiarism, and embarrassing, but the stronger case against her was that her focus on race conflicted with a university's commitment to research and education of all types, not just those best studied with the tools developed for the study of race in America from her own narrow political perspective. Gay's testimony before Congress and her failure to address the issue of anti-Semitism in a convincing way revealed another weakness. When asked if chanting anti-Semitic slogans would violate Harvard's policies, she gave a vague, legalistic answer. This was harder to forgive. A university president needs to interact with the outside world in a way that's true to the mission and values of the university. Because universities are filled with all sorts of people, representing them publicly is a tough job, one that Gay and other university presidents failed at. Compare Gay's legalese to how Rudenstine answered a question about the limits of free speech. He said he was a strong defender of First Amendment rights and that stopping speech would be giving up a fundamental principle of the institution. He was on his own campus, not in a Capitol Hill hearing, so the situations aren't exactly the same. But his answer showed a clear commitment to his students' freedom of speech and to maintaining a respectful and decent campus. In the months since Gay's testimony, she's spoken with Harvard's student newspaper about her mistakes and issued statements. But I don't know of any public appearances or interviews where she's opened herself up to scrutiny and questioning that would let people decide if she had what it takes to lead a diverse institution with people who have different views and insist on being full members of the faculty or student body without having to compromise those views. Who would want this job, now that it's the most scrutinized position in higher education? Anyone who asks this question must lack a certain ambition, which is a basic requirement for a successful politician or university president. The person who might want this job is someone with a solid academic record, who can speak eloquently about public issues, and who doesn't mind being watched closely by the world. I'm surprised Danielle Allen, a classicist with an impressive resume and political ambition, hasn't been mentioned more often. She currently holds the James Bryant Conant Chair at Harvard. Last month, after Gay's missteps, she wrote a Washington Post column that was a model of sanity and political caution. I wonder if the column was an audition. Gay has said she'll go back to her tenured position in Harvard's government department and the career in political science that she left a few years ago to become an academic administrator. She waited too long to make this move. But she's young enough to have a great opportunity ahead of her. Rufo and others took her down by questioning the quality of her work and finding real flaws in it. The best revenge would be to show every virtue she was accused of lacking, by publishing in top journals, by training another generation of scholars, and proving that the initiatives she championed as a dean and president were worth her emphasis. Or she could just quietly collect a tenured professor's salary and, like many tenured professors, do nothing. By the McGeorge Bundy standard, that might not be so bad, either. He left Harvard for the White House, and got us into Vietnam. Sometimes a cushy job in an Ivy League or ivory tower is safer for everyone.